And in continuation to what happened yesterday, or what I said yesterday, uh, and my briefing on extremism and the creation, how abuse creates extremism, and how the economical gap, this person is in low middle class or middle class or high middle class, and then it it differentiates and between a middle class individual and these people are in a very high economic class, a high economic community, and they have this view of the world, and the individual, which is myself, has a different view of the world, uh, and and that's basically where I am when I'm saying about the details and the desire, as well as the passion and discipline, because you can have all of this that's you can have all of this that's set in stone. You have the details and you have the desire, but you don't have any discipline, and because of that, well, it's going to be very difficult for you to absorb what you need to absorb in a certain amount of time. Uh, to read just English, it might take 7 years or 4 years, and that's for a developing mind. I'm talking about a child learning or absorbing the material, for to uh, read English at a very proficient level. Uh, you know, to grasp concepts in a different language, and then basically be able to understand things at a scholarly, educated, and analytical level. That's entirely different. Now, sometimes you like different viewpoints because this person will use this word, while you use this word, even though they're synonymous, are very similar. They have different connotations or accents to the word, uh, and that's true as well. When you really examine this, you start to have different ideas about words and letters, and then you have an expansion of ideas for one word, or an expansion of possibilities for one word. And you really have to look at the context of what is talked about to get the grasp of a concept. And this may take years to do, and this may take uh, a large desire and a very high discipline to do. And it's a very difficult thing to do, and I would say it's tedious sometimes, and it takes a level of concentration that's not particularly taught um, in in schools, because they just don't have the time. Now, a foundation is there, but some of the things that you may have to go through, it is not there. So I'm going back to something that takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of concentration, and you learn this, whether throughout your life, and hopefully at adulthood you can put it together. Uh, Biblically, now, this the physical action lines up. This concept lines up throughout the Quran, throughout different biblical books. If you're reading, the Bible in German, if you're reading it in Spanish, and this concept lines up, but the application is different in these books. Now, what I'm saying is, if you read some of the concepts in the Bible, you're going to understand that when you have this desire and passion, people may call you awkward, or they may call you weird. Well, why is this person? We're all out on this night, Thursday and Friday nights, and we're partying. And everybody's partying. We have our friends, we have our sororities, and we have, the money and funding here. Well, someone else didn't have that money and funding, and why is this person studying all the time? This is awkward for us. We don't like it. And now this person is doing this thing word for word that takes a specific amount of time and discipline, and that's not a skill that we can give the individual, preferably the discipline amount and the time amount. Well, this individual has went through hardships, and the only way the individual knows how to overcome these hardships is, I'm saying this a slight forward lean. I'm going to do this, and I don't care the sacrifices that this is going to take. Okay? And I'm going to get through this, and this is what this reference says. For this looks exactly the same. And this is what this reference says for this, and this looks exactly the same as what's here. So I don't want anybody saying that this means something that's totally off topic, that we don't know what we're saying here, because this reference says this says this, and no one has the discipline to come and look these up. We're not looking it up. It bugs me. Now, there's references in religious books when you have that type of discipline and you have that type of desire. Well, this individual has been called these names this whole life, and it's incorrect. But since we can't get through to that individual, or it's not fast enough, or we don't, that's not a skill that we can teach or relay, we're going to call this individual names, and these names that are being called are lined up with this biblical verse. I'm not going to get into the details here, but this person is blessed with this gift, quote unquote spiritual gift, whether it's desire, well, it's a basic foundation there, the basic desire and passion. But since this is such an awkward or unique thing, and something that we don't teach in conventional schools, we'll hint on it, we'll braze past it, but we don't teach this. We can't teach this foundational principle. We're going to label this individual. Now, what's happened, and it's happened to me, and prior to that, I didn't even know what cultural confliction was. I had no idea what it was. But there was briefings that I received, and these briefings caused me to have some sort of contempt for my own father. My father that immigrated, he's generally, they have some wealth, and the community they live in is very liberal. It's nice. People go there and they drink wine. They like to see the sights, they like to see the vineyards, things like this. And, the general community and consensus was, What is these crazy things they're saying to you? What's it really doing to you? What's it doing inside your soul? And there was other types of things that were going on. Well, I find it very frustrated. I find things very frustrated when people start diluting or evading the topic of which we're talking about. Because lately, I've argued to get my passport back, my privileges to get my passport back, received it, and I paid a specific amount of money to get that back, and I got it back. And this type of thing, and it was a little bit of surprise to me, because after a year and a half long debate, I received it back. Well, but prior to that, I would try to go to these other countries that were adjoining, and sometimes the officers would say things like, "Your medicine," and point me in the other direction. And it really was like, well, why are you saying this to me? Why are you trying to divert me? I'm not here to do any harm to you, do any harm to your business. I'm a good person. I want to expand my mind, because some people have been saying that I'm stupid. Some people have been saying that I am deranged. And regardless of the actions have never proven that, and things of that nature, they're saying this, and it's hurting my feelings. And because it's hurting my feelings, and their distraction and their diversion is hurting my feelings, I want to expand my mind and see the world, because every path that I take and every walk that I go on is not the exact same to somebody else's. Even if it's the similar trail that we're taking, my steps are just a little bit different. My intake of that situation is going to be just a little bit different than that individual. Okay? And that's the truth. Even though it's very similar, and we could even use similar words, my steps are going to be just a little bit different. It's a fraction of an inch or a single centimeter different. It's different. So I want you to know that. And when I know that, it's hard for our minds to conceptualize that. But in the bigger things, in the bigger view, I believe that there is a conceptualization of it. And this is kind of an eye-opening thing that I want you to realize. And linguistically, it's there as well. Well, this word has this meaning in this context, but it's the same word, but it has this meaning in that context. There's these accents on it. It means this, it means that, and or it can mean this, or it can mean that. And there's more than one possibility. And there's always more than one possibility. Well, this is the truth, and this is the way our minds work. So when I'm saying this is, when you take something that's so detailed and so precise, and it takes such a long time to do, and it's such a different field for your situation and your upbringing, and how you became who you are, that there are people that are upper echelons in the field you choose, that say, okay, this is BS. What a lot of this stuff that they are trying to do and jargonize and pervert and distort, it's BS what has happened. So uh, we're negating that, and it shouldn't have been this way, but for some reason, this individual wanted to seek the truth. And I'm going to do this again. If you seek the truth, if you seek the truth, you will seek this. And that is the truth. Okay? Whether it's writing on a paper is writing on a paper. The truth in the real world is a little bit different than just writing on the paper. That's how we relay the information. It's not the actual truth. But if you're seeking the truth, it will give you a good foundation to go off of. Now, if you're seeking the truth, then writing on the paper is writing on the paper. No matter what the words are, it's still a piece of paper and it's still written. It is not the truth as we are here. I'm in this oxygenated area. I can breathe. I can feel this as I touch this. Excuse me, the micromillimeters, the microseconds. I can feel that. And that's the truth. Okay? Now, there's been a whole things of events that have went on that aren't fair. I don't think they were fair to my mother. I don't think they were fair to my stepfather. And I don't think people running around making assumptions is fair to me also. Now, I'm a good person, and I value in the whole perception of the world and the whole world. I value the good in the world. I value the oxygen. I value the little bird that flies. And I really think they have more thoughts and more ideas of the world than we do, because we can't move our hands like they move their wings. I can't move my hands as fast as that. And I can't physically do that. So I can't see the world like they can see the world. And time is a relative thing. My time is maybe longer than their time, but it's relative in the fact that, well, maybe my time is longer, but actually it's not, because they're different, because their perceptions of the world, they're a different being. And why am I bringing this up? Because I don't want to be treated unfairly. I've been treated unfairly time and time again. I don't like when I'm doing a martial art and, there was this debate about fighters, or, excuse me, martial artists and independent martial artists, because suddenly you have people with oppressive mindsets, and they always want to know what you're doing and where you're training at. And I find that very obstructive. I find that intrusive. I find that something that doesn't help me, uh, as a mature martial artist, as a mature individual. I find it very prejudiced and oppressive. So I don't like people knowing how I train, when I train, where I train, because it's one of those things that, well, this individual was held back for this amount of time, whether it was 10 years, in my case, it was 14 years. And, and, that is, I found it to be very oppressive. Suddenly, I had people that were close to me saying this individual is never going to get past this uh, belt here. This individual will never come here and do this again. And that's kind of where I am with that. Now, a lot of the time I want to prove these people wrong. And like I said before, in my medical history, initially when I was a kid, and I overcame these obstacles, and this was a positive step for me. But I think for other people, it was a very negative, condescending, uh, almost envious or spiteful thing. So there was some abuse that went on, and they're saying, and now that is where I overcame it. I overcame a lot of the things they're saying, and sometimes the people that haven't really experienced life are writing bad stuff on my file. I don't like it. Okay? I don't like a lot of their opinions that they're writing. And they really don't know the sacrifices and the desire and the passion that I went through for them. And if you want to look at a monetary amount, the monetary amount's not going to do justice immediately. It may be monetary, it may do justice over this 10-year time span. It may do justice over a 20-year time span. And that's the type of desire it takes. It may do justice over a 30-year time span. But immediately, it's not going to, they're not going to see it there. And unfortunately, we have 80 to 100 years on this earth. And hopefully, God willing, and I'm saying inshallah. So what I'm saying is, it's very difficult for us to get references from 5,000, 6,000 years and as intellectuals and really say, well, this, and this occurred at this time. And there's a debate there. And, and as some of this information may or may not be hidden. And it is because, I think that, I wouldn't say it threatens business, but it will just dissolute or get rid of some businesses that are there. And what should the motivation be for the human being? What should the general motivation be for a human being? To have us live longer. There's only moral and ethical behavior from us. There is only something that is so righteous and so spiritual connected that all this doesn't matter, because in the end, it's not going to be here. And I am one with nature. I'm one with the bird that flies outside. I'm one with the squirrel. And I am my father. I am my mother. And I'm these other people that have influenced my life. And I am myself as well. And most of all, I'm myself. But this thing of these stories and these things of this nature that are essentially damaging people's reputation, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it for someone that has no life experience or has not went through anything to write these things on this individual's file and view them as something that's lower life form? It should they be doing that? And I'm there. Should if I try to go into a different area, should they be saying, take your medicine? Have you been taking your medicine lately? Well, I don't have any medicine. The only medicine that I take is for emergencies. It's if I get bit by a snake or a bee, I have, I'm not going to take that. Oh, okay. Should they be saying comments like that? Things happen that shouldn't. That's not the real world. The real world is something there. The real world is not a computer screen. Now, I can relay information, but that's not the real world, and that's not happening now. The real world is not this. Even though this will give you a good foundation, that's not the real world. Okay? So just remember that. And I don't want to be a target for your oppressiveness and your discrimination. Okay? I don't. And remember what that does. Remember, there are people that have had it worse than you. And they've survived and they've overcame. And remember, when you write those nasty things, what it does. Don't do that. I'm telling you, as an individual that has experienced the world and the life, do not do that. Do not do that. There will be repercussions and consequences.